After defeating the Demon Lord, Hero Himmel, Priest Heiter, Dwarf Warrior Eisen, and Elf Mage Frieren return to the royal capital. Himmel, Heiter, and Eisen are ready to settle down after their 10-year adventure, but Frieren, whose lifespan lasts thousands of years, considers 10 years barely noticeable and plans to travel and learn new spells. They watch the Era meteor shower together, with Frieren promising to show them a better place to watch it during the next shower in 50 years. 50 years later, Frieren returns and finds Himmel and Heiter are elderly, while Eisen is middle-aged. After retrieving a dragon horn from Himmel, they go on one last adventure to watch the meteors again. Himmel dies of old age shortly after the trip. At Himmel's funeral, Frieren tearfully realizes she never really got to know him and decides to learn as much about humans as possible. 20 years later, she returns and finds the now extremely elderly Heiter has adopted a war orphan, 9-year-old Fern. Fern has potential as a mage, and Heiter, who has come to fear death in his old age, asks Frieren to research life-extending magic and tutor Fern in her spare time. Frieren agrees after finding Fern is already remarkably skilled despite her youth. Frieren spends 4 years tutoring Fern while translating an ancient grimoire concerning immortality. Heiter becomes bedridden and Fern trains non-stop, wanting Heiter to see her become a mage. She reveals after the deaths of her parents, Heiter stopped her committing suicide, so to repay him she needs to prove she can survive on her own. Frieren's translation reveals nothing about life extension, which Heiter already knew. It was just an excuse to have Frieren train Fern. Heiter dies shortly afterwards, so Fern joins Frieren on her travels, but is confused by the effort Frieren puts into learning spells, even silly ones. In a certain village, they find a statue of Himmel that Frieren is compelled to decorate with blue moon weed, a flower from Himmel's village. As it is extinct, they spend 6 months searching for even a single flower, so Frieren can save it. Fern is frustrated Frieren could be helping the world, yet wastes years on seemingly pointless tasks. Frieren reveals Himmel inspired her spell collecting to prevent the apathy caused by her lifespan. Eventually, they find the flower in a seed rat nest, allowing Frieren to create a field of them in Himmel's memory. Fern realizes it is important to have a passion, be it for magic or anything else. Fern notices Frieren acting suspiciously and follows her to several unusual and dangerous shops. Frieren admits despite her efforts, she has learned almost nothing about Fern and was trying to think of a gift for Fern's birthday. Fern is happier knowing Frieren at least tried to learn about her. Frieren decides to revisit places she visited with Himmel, Heiter, and Eisen. The first place is a village where Frieren sealed away Qual, the demon of corruption. The seal will break soon, so Frieren must defeat Qual. She is surprised to learn Himmel checked the seal every year until he died and was always confident Frieren would visit before it broke. Frieren reveals Qual invented a killing spell that bypassed all barriers and armor to strike the body directly, which was so powerful at the time she could only manage to seal rather than destroy him. Qual is unsealed, but Frieren reveals in the 80 years he has been asleep, human mages learned and reverse-engineered his spell, allowing them to develop new defense spells to block it. Unable to harm them, Qual is easily killed when Frieren uses his own spell on him, which he does not know how to block. Frieren realizes the village elder is a boy she met at the village 80 years ago, reminding her fondly of Himmel. Fern also points out Himmel must have had deep trust in Frieren to be so certain she would return to deal with Qual. In exchange for cleaning a beach, Frieren receives a grimoire written by famous mage Flam, even though it is fake. The work is finished by New Year, when the locals traditionally watch the sunrise. Frieren, a notorious late sleeper, missed the sunrise during her last visit, upsetting her friends. This time she makes it but finds the sunrise dull, until she sees Fern enjoying herself and realizes why missing it last time upset everyone, because they were supposed to go together. They then visit Eisen's home, having not seen him in 30 years. He asks for help searching Vol Basin for Flammy's genuine grimoire, as Flammy supposedly found a way to speak to the dead, and he thinks it will be beneficial for Frieren to speak with Himmel one more time. Frieren recalls Flamme was her human master 1,000 years ago, who instructed her to find her home if she ever felt regret and wanted to speak to the dead. Frieren recovers Flamme's genuine grimoire, which describes where all souls go, Oral, at the northernmost point of the continent, where the Demon Lord's castle is located. On the way home, Eisen is happy Frieren is learning to care about people and is a good teacher to Fern. Frieren asks Eisen to accompany them to Oriole, but Eisen declines, citing he would slow her down in his old age. However, Eisen also reminds them that their original adventure to the Demon King's castle took 10 years, which Frieren acknowledges. Frieren acknowledges 10 years is potentially a tenth of Fern's lifespan, but Fern decides to follow her. A short way into the journey, they enter a village where several people disappeared after seeing ghosts of their deceased relatives. Frieren suspects an Einsam, a monster that lures victims with illusion magic. The illusions are easily destroyed with attack magic, but as this involves attacking the ghosts of people they loved, even experienced warriors cannot fight back and become its prey. Fern is almost caught by Heiter's ghost, but Frieren easily shoots Himmel's ghost, exposing the Einsam so Fern can destroy it. Continuing on the journey, Frieren decides to kill a dragon to collect a grimoire from its nest. This requires a strong warrior, so they seek out Stark, one of Eisen's students who once defeated the dragon in a staring contest and now lives nearby. Stark admits he has never killed a monster before and only won the famous staring contest because he was frozen with fear. Frieren gives him until morning to decide to help. Fern doubts he is capable, but Frieren is confident since, thanks to Eisen's training, Stark possesses the strength to cut through solid rock with his axe. Stark admits that even though he is strong enough to take on the dragon, he is too afraid to. Fern encourages Stark by telling him all he needs is resolve. The next day, Stark reluctantly agrees to distract the dragon despite still being scared. Frieren points out that Eisen was always scared as well before a major battle. Stark then engages the dragon and manages to kill it without needing any assistance from Frieren and Fern. Frieren collects the grimoire and Stark agrees to accompany her on her journey. The trio head north to the city of Wal, but find out the checkpoint is closed due to increased monster activity in the northern lands. Frieren is content to stay in the city to continue her magic research, but Fern and Stark grow concerned when they find out it may take up 2 years before the checkpoint can be reopened. Stark reveals to Fern that he wants to go on an adventure so that he can return to Eisen to regale him with his stories. Fortunately, the city's Castellan recognizes Frieren and, believing that she is headed north to pacify the monsters, gladly opens the checkpoint for her. Frieren and her party are given a hero's send-off, which embarrasses Frieren, but Fern and Stark are excited that this marks the official beginning of their adventure. Frieren and her party continue to travel north, and Frieren explains the elven race has been declining since, due to their long lives, they are too apathetic to even reproduce. They pass by another village with statues of her and her original party who celebrate Liberation Day. Frieren recalls a memory where Himmel was adamant the party leave behind statues of themselves as reminders to Frieren that they actually existed and are not simply fairy tales. Heading to another city, Frieren spots demons and tries to attack them, only to be arrested by the city guards for threatening peace envoys. Fern and Stark visit Frieren in the dungeon and reveal that one of the Demon Lord's lieutenants, Aura, has recently regained her power and has been waging war against the city for 28 years, leading both sides to open peace talks. However, Frieren warns from experience that demons are incapable of being reasoned with since they only learn human language as a way to deceive humans. Just as Frieren predicted, the demon peace envoy led by Lugna are simply there to trick the city into lowering its barrier so Aura can raise it with her army. However, one of his attendants, Draft, heads to the dungeon to assassinate Frieren, but she warns him that she is far more powerful than Aura. Come back for part 2. On Saturday, episodes 8 to 14 will be in part 2.